5 years ago, Nvidia was a gaming graphics card company most people had never even heard of. Today, it's worth more than every other company on Earth, over $5 trillion. That's more than the entire GDP of most countries combined. So how did a chip company built for video games end up running the entire AI industry? Here's exactly what happened. Let's put this in perspective. When ChatGPT launched to the public in November 2022, Nvidia was worth around $345 billion. Respectable, but nowhere near the top of the pack. A little more than 3 years later, it's worth over $5 trillion. That's more than a 13-fold increase in 3 years, for a company that was already massive to begin with. Most companies don't grow like that. Empires don't grow like that. So what actually happened here? The answer isn't that Nvidia pivoted into some hot new trend. It's that Nvidia was already sitting on exactly what the entire AI industry would eventually need, years before anyone knew they'd need it. To understand this, you have to go back to what Nvidia actually built its business on: GPUs, graphics processing units, chips designed to render video game graphics, pushing millions of pixels to your screen, 60 times a second, without breaking a sweat. For most of Nvidia's history, that was the whole business. A competitive, kind of boring hardware market. Gamers cared. Almost nobody else did. But here's the twist. The same thing that makes a GPU good at rendering pixels, doing thousands of small calculations at the exact same time, in parallel, turned out to be exactly what you need to train an artificial intelligence model. AI training isn't one big calculation. It's millions of tiny ones, happening simultaneously. Traditional computer chips do these one at a time, in sequence. GPUs do them all at once. When researchers figured this out in the early 2000s, they started repurposing gaming chips to train early AI models. And Nvidia noticed. This is the part most people miss. Nvidia didn't just get lucky that its chips happened to work for AI. It went all in, years before there was any guarantee it would pay off. It built something called CUDA, a software platform that let developers actually program these chips for tasks beyond graphics. This wasn't a quick side project. It was over a decade of investment into software that, for most of that time, had no obvious payoff. That decision is the entire story. Because when the AI boom actually arrived, when every tech company on Earth suddenly needed to train massive language models, there was only one company whose hardware and software were actually ready for it. Competitors could try to build competing chips. But CUDA had become the standard everyone already built on top of. Ripping it out wasn't a hardware problem anymore. It was a switching cost problem. And those are much harder to solve. That's why, by the time the AI boom exploded, Nvidia wasn't scrambling to catch up. It was the only company that had already spent a decade preparing for a moment nobody else saw coming. The result shows up directly in the numbers. In one recent quarter, Nvidia's data center business alone brought in over $62 billion in revenue, accounting for more than 90% of the company's total sales. Gaming, the business Nvidia was actually built on, is now a rounding error next to AI infrastructure. The company didn't abandon its roots. Its roots just turned out to be sitting directly under a gold mine nobody had found yet. Here's where it gets interesting, though. Because even at $5 trillion, Nvidia's throne isn't as secure as you'd think. In 2026, Nvidia has actually underperformed the broader market, up only about 9%, while Apple surged nearly 23% in the same period. Wall Street's attention has started shifting to the next stage of the AI build-out. Memory chips, data center infrastructure, the companies powering the layer just underneath Nvidia. And it's not hypothetical anymore. This year, Apple and Nvidia actually traded the title of world's most valuable company within the same week. Nvidia's value briefly dipped, Apple's briefly overtook it, and then Nvidia reclaimed the top spot by the end of the day. Think about that for a second. Even the most dominant company in the history of the stock market, a company that essentially built the infrastructure the entire AI industry runs on, can lose its crown for a few hours because sentiment shifted. That's the real lesson hiding inside the Nvidia's rise. First, Nvidia won by being early to a market that didn't exist yet, not by chasing a trend that already had 10 competitors in it. Second, owning the software layer, not just the hardware, is what made Nvidia hard to replace. Anyone can eventually build a competing chip. Almost nobody can rebuild a decade of developer tools and switching costs. Third, even a $5 trillion company isn't safe. Nvidia has to keep proving itself every single quarter against competitors who'd love nothing more than to take the crown. Nvidia's story is really the story of the entire AI boom, told through one company. It shows you exactly where the money went, why it went there, and how fragile even total dominance can be. If you want to understand where AI money is flowing next, subscribe. I break down one company like this every single week.